I guess, first of all, you have two presidential candidates in your state today. Why is Michigan so important to both of them?
For a multitude of reasons. Number one, it's incredibly close. The polls here are not only in the margin of error, but it's a point or two either way in every poll that has come out in the last couple of weeks. Second reason, we're a big tranche of electoral votes. We've got 15 electoral votes that one of those candidates is going to get toward their path to 270.
Donald Trump has a rally in Detroit, just about a block away from here. We can hear protesters in the background. What's at the top of his list of what he has to do in this race?
I think that this race has turned in the last couple of days from a persuasion operation to a mobilization operation. Early voting starts very soon, and of course we've got 17 days until Election Day. But the campaigns I think, are now turning toward mobilizing their supporters and making sure that every last one of them casts their ballot.
So that's true, I guess, of both candidates.
Absolutely.
I want to play a couple of clips now from today on the campaign trail in Michigan, beginning with the vice president.
You know, I've been hearing reports that his team, at least, is saying he's suffering from exhaustion. And that's apparently the excuse for why he's not doing interviews. You know, look, being president of the United States is probably one of the hardest jobs in the world. And so we really do need to ask if he's exhausted being on the campaign trail. Is he fit to do the job?
Tell me when you've seen me take even a little bit of a risk. Not only am I'm not even tired. I'm really exhilarated. You know why? We're killing her in the polls because the American people don't want her.
So as you hear those clips, what's the significance of them?
Not much. I think it's run-of-the-mill campaign sniping. Imagine Vice President Harris gets a little bit of glee about poking Trump on his age, his stamina, right? Yeah. That was something that was brought up when Joe Biden was at the top of the ticket. So I think that, she gets a little bit of joy out of that, but not much to make of that.
Yeah. And to be fair, we looked a lot for clips from today to find something that was a little bit more meaningful. You talked about mobilization just a moment ago, but in terms of like politics of issues, is there anything, and let's talk about both candidates, starting with Trump, that they have to really nail in terms of the Michigan voters?
This has been an absolute consistency in this campaign. Donald Trump is focusing on two issues here in Michigan, the economy and immigration. Kamala Harris, on the other hand, is focusing on abortion. And this is a tried and true method of campaigning. Donald Trump is focusing on those issues because right now, American voters, including here in Michigan, seem to trust Donald Trump and the Republican Party more on those issues than they do Kamala Harris and the Democrats, and vice versa for abortion. That's why Harris is focusing on it and Trump doesn't want to talk about it.
This is a diverse state. On Sunday, I'll be doing a piece focusing on the African-American vote, particularly in Detroit, but beyond as well. I think it has been rock solid Democrat, more or less, for a long time. Is that changing?
It is. And I'll amend your statement there just a little bit.
Solid,
right. There was a string of Democratic presidential victories here in Michigan between 1992 right until 2016 when Trump flipped it. But even in that string of victories, Michigan was competitive. That blue string of victories created this myth of a blue wall back in 2016 that turned out to be pretty thin. And of course, Trump comes here and it crumbles across the Midwest, actually. So the state has always been competitive. We've elected Republican governors, for instance, in that time. And it is so down to the wire, so close, 50-50, it is a pure toss-up, as you said.
And what about Kamala Harris? What's the key thing she needs to convince Michiganders to do?
To turn out and vote. It really does, I think, come down to turnout. Whoever does a better job of turning out their identified supporters is going to win this thing.
This is a big country, lots of different local issues. We are almost, if it were daytime, in the shadow of the General Motors headquarters. And EVs have been an issue that former President Trump would like to make an issue here.
He has come to Michigan and talked quite a bit about electric vehicles, electrification in general, and he has railed against it. He has used it to try and recreate the successes that he had in 2016 with folks who work for GM, Ford, Stellantis, who are blue-collar workers, union voters, who used to be solidly in the Democratic column, and they are no longer, because Trump came here 8 years ago and talked to them in a way that they had not heard in decades. Talked to them in around issues about trade and manufacturing, in particular NAFTA, and promised to renegotiate NAFTA, which he did. So he's actually got some credibility with these folks on those issues that are related to their auto jobs.
And what about EVs? Has that become an issue in 24?
It certainly has, and it is. Trump is trying to use it as another way of saying the Democrats, Kamala Harris, and their EV mandates, they're going to ruin the auto industry, they're going to drive out your jobs, but I won't. So it's really a strategy for Trump to try to lock in those votes that he was so successful with 8 years ago.
Just a minute left. My colleague Chris Reyes is going to have a piece in just a moment looking at the Arab American vote in Michigan. That's really interesting as well.
It is fascinating. We go back to February when the Democratic presidential primary happened, and Joe Biden was on the ballot, but so was an option called uncommitted. And without getting into all the details, it was a protest vote against Joe Biden over the war in Gaza. And 100,000 people in Michigan that February day cast a ballot for uncommitted in protest to Joe Biden. The question now is, what do those folks do? Many of them are going to vote for Kamala Harris. Some are going to vote for Jill Stein. Others are just not going to vote. So, but the important point here is that even small shifts among key constituencies, African American voters, Arab American voters, young people, union voters, those small shifts are going to have the potential to have a huge impact on the outcome.
Yeah, 2016, the margin razor close, literally 5 seconds left. How close is it right now?
Razor thin.
Yeah. Dave Dulio, a professor of political science at Oakland University, just outside Detroit. Thank you very much.
Thank you.